Get ready for the Outsider Sports Show. I'm Clint Switzer.
And I'm Noah Groniger. Join us every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for a hard-hitting look at all things NFL and college football related.
Each week, we will be joined by intriguing guests from the world of sports to help us break down all the action.
If you're tired of those same old sports takes, well, we don't pull our punches. This show's by sports fans, for sports fans.
The Outsider Sports Show. Tune in every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. right here on The Hog.
Coming up on the Outsider Sports Show, we preview today's Missouri at Indiana college football game with Indianapolis Stars' own David Woods, as well as former Missouri Tiger great, wide receiver Tommy Saunders. We'll preview the football headed our way today and tomorrow, as well as take a look back at last week's action, including the big Thursday night win for your Kansas City Chiefs over the Philadelphia Eagles, 26-16.
And welcome, everyone, to the Outsider Sports Show here on The Hog. For the first time, Clint Switzer and Noah Groniger are joining you. We appreciate you guys listening so much. Our first time on The Hog, Noah, could not be more excited.
Oh, this is a great opportunity for us. We look forward to bringing you a realistic view. And we're not just a couple talking heads up here. We got great guests that are going to be coming on today.
We're going to be talking about the Mizzou-Indiana game coming up tonight. Big game for the Missouri Tigers. We're going to be joined by Kearney native and former Missouri great Tommy Saunders. Also, David Woods from the Indiana side. He is the beat writer for the Indiana Hoosiers football program there for the Indianapolis Star. Going to be talking about that big game coming up later tonight. A lot of big college football action, though, before we get into the Missouri Tigers. And really, let's go back to last week, because if you're talking about the Alabama and Texas A&M game, that was the rematch, the game of the century. They have one every year, Noah, but it lived up to the hype in 2013.
Yeah, people were wondering about Johnny Manziel and his off-field antics in the offseason, but he lives up to the hype. He's Johnny Football. Didn't get the win, but he was electric.
He's the most electric college football player I've ever seen. He's a video game, a human video game. He put up unbelievable numbers. He escaped pressure. He put up 42 points on that Alabama defense, a defense that is certainly known for just shutting people out. What do we take from this? Because Alabama was expected to win the game. They did. They just could not put Johnny Football away.
Well, you don't have to like Johnny Manziel off the field, but you've got to respect his game on the field. 464 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 98 yards rushing. And as far as Nick Saban, this may be his last chance to win a national title at Alabama because he may be headed to Texas.
That's a whole other issue. The Texas Longhorns are absolutely abysmal 3 weeks into this season. They're 1-2. They've lost to BYU, and they've lost to Ole Miss. They've been beaten senseless and run all over by both teams. Mack Brown fired his defensive coordinator after losing to BYU a couple weeks ago. Where does this stand? The University of Texas should be where the Texas A&M Aggies are. They've got the facilities, the 100,000-seat stadium. They've got all the funding you could ever need, all the facilities. What has happened at the University of Texas? Are they not recruiting at the level they've been used to? Talk about Colt McCoy, Vince Young, the quarterback play hasn't been there. What is up in Texas?
Mack Brown, I think he's just overstayed his welcome. Just like what happened to Andy Reid in Philadelphia in the National Football League. He overstayed his welcome in Philadelphia. Mack Brown's overstayed his welcome. He could be on the hot seat. He is on the hot seat, especially if he loses to Kansas State and Oklahoma. He could be out the door, as well as Bo Pelini in Nebraska with his comments about the Nebraska fans.
And on to that, Nebraska, of course, the big story this week. Not only did Bo Pelini call out Tommy Frazier, the former Husker great, the video, the audio leaks of Bo Pelini insulting the fans there in Nebraska. And I'll tell you what, if there's one thing you don't do, you do not insult the Nebraska fans and call them fair weather. We won't play the clip for you. There's a lot of expletives, a lot going on. Basically, Bo Pelini referred to the Nebraska fans as fair weather and, forget them, don't need them, F them. What do we take from this? Should this guy have been fired this week for these comments?
They were private comments. It wasn't in a media press conference or anything like that. But I think they'll give him the rest of this year. I think he probably is gone after the year, and they'll start their head coaching search, as well as many other teams, possibly Texas, possibly Alabama. USC with Lane Kiffin. They want him out. And an interesting point that I heard the other day was that Mack Brown probably should be the one on the hottest seat, but because he's so nice and everyone loves him in the media, that he may be given a little more leniency than the Bo Pelinis and Lane Kiffins of the world, who are kind of salty with the media.
Oh, very good point there. And with regards to Pelini, is it no shock that this audio clip was released a day after losing to UCLA? Giving up 38 unanswered points to the UCLA Bruins at home. I mean, it's no surprise to me that that's when something like that comes out. Bo Pelini's always been a hothead. He's always had problems. He's always had incidents where you feel like literally he's going to pull a Woody Hayes and injure somebody on the field, punch them, go after a ref. I've just always felt he is just an absolute malcontent as a head coach.
Yeah, and somebody's had this video or commentary for a while, and they've sat on it. And all of a sudden, they just bring it out right now after he loses to UCLA. Somebody's wanting him out of there. They had this in their pocket, and they revealed it to the world.
Losing coaches, they will, fans, boosters, they're going to find a way to get losing coaches fired. We saw this with Texas Tech with Mike Leach and the perceived putting, Craig James' son into a closet, and we saw Mark Mangino that same year. All of a sudden, the Kansas Jayhawks started losing in 2009. Well, Mark Mangino's out of here because he's a jerk. He has said racial things about players. He has done this and that. Well, if you're 10-2, if you're winning 11 games, that stuff just does not matter. If Bo Pelini crushes UCLA and they're constantly winning Big Ten titles, that's not going to matter. But right now, they are what they are, which is a solid 8-9 win program. But Pelini has not been able to get them above that mark.
Yeah, I don't think this tape comes out if he crushes UCLA or just
Absolutely.
wins the game. And winning cures everything. Winning solves everything. Everyone forgives a winner. Everyone loves a winner. But when you start losing, things like this come out, rear their ugly head, and you're out of there.
Well, I think I agree with you. I think that he's going to get to the end of this year if he's able to turn that Nebraska team around. This is not a good Nebraska team. This is a team that almost lost to Wyoming in the first week of the season, gave up a ton of yards rushing. Their defense is not good. They let Brett, Hundley throw all over them in Lincoln. This is going to be a situation where I think is going to take care of itself because I think Bo Pelini is going to be on his way out. It's going to be easy for these people to do it, easy for the fan base to let go, easy for the, for the boosters to let go, for the powers that be to say goodbye because of his behavior, his antics.
Yeah, it will be because of his antics, but they may kind of play it up to the media as, well, he didn't reach expectations here, but it may be because of the tape.
Absolutely. I agree with you there. And, and we're talking about, the SEC. We're getting ready to preview, of course, the Mizzou game coming up. Mizzou at Indiana coming up with Tommy Saunders and David Woods going to be joining us, previewing the big game. But the SEC in general, we talked about Alabama and A&M, already a big league game. We got Florida and Tennessee. How about this? Florida and Tennessee coming up. How bad has the Tennessee program fallen? This would have been a college game day, ESPN game, anytime throughout the 90s. All of a sudden, Philip Fulmer's been out of there a few years. It did not work out with Derek Dooley. Butch Jones is in there. They just got annihilated by Oregon last Saturday. It's just not the game it was. Tennessee is down. Maybe the SEC in general is down a little bit, Noah. The defense has not been there. Georgia as well.
Yeah, they look top-heavy right now with Alabama. Georgia has struggled a little bit.
And they've given up a bunch of
Florida
points.
loses to Miami.
Yeah, Florida already has a loss. Tennessee's been just crushed by Oregon. You've seen teams like Kentucky, who are not good anyway, lose to Western Kentucky, beaten at Louisville as well. Where is this league at? Because we talk about the LSUs, Alabama's, Georgia's always up there. Florida, who I think is still going to be a solid team. Florida was an 11-win team a year ago. And I think they're going to be, right around the 8-9 win mark, maybe down a little bit. Will Muschamp still trying to get things together offensively there for the Gators. But programs like Tennessee have fallen. South Carolina with Jadeveon Clowney, with Coach Steve Spurrier, I think that's still going to be a real salty team down the stretch. The Georgia Bulldogs have given up 1 million points in their first few games to Clemson and to South Carolina. Vanderbilt, Ole Miss in the middle of there. Missouri, we don't really know what Missouri's going to be yet. Where is this Missouri team? They beat a bad FCS Murray State team. They beat a solid Toledo team, but did not look good defensively doing it. Where's this Missouri team right now? In the middle of the pack at this conference? Where can we expect?
Well, you've got Henry Josie coming back. That's a huge lift to that entire offense, the entire team. Loving to see him coming back. James Franklin has had a stellar season with 4 touchdowns, only 1 interception.
Yeah, Franklin looks like a different quarterback to me. And we're going to ask, Tommy Saunders about that. Of course, he's been real close to the program for the last few years. He's a great Missouri player from the past, played on a great offense with Jeremy Maclin, Denario Alexander, one of the best offenses Missouri's ever had. And we're going to ask him about James Franklin, because to me, that's what makes this team tick. If Franklin is poised, if he's making good decisions, if he's able to tuck the ball and run and pick up big yards, if he's able to stay healthy, which he's done so far, that's the difference for this Missouri team, because he's got a lot of weapons. Dorial Green-Beckham, LaDainian Washington, Bud Sasser, Jimmy Hunt, Marcus Lucas, a lot of guys to get the ball to. The offensive line's healthy. This Missouri team looks better than it did a year ago, does it not?
Oh, it definitely does. Dorial Green-Beckham, huge receiver.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of guys out there, a lot of guys to get the ball to. That's going to be huge. So this game at Indiana is intriguing to me because Indiana throws the ball all over the yard. If you guys aren't familiar and haven't seen Indiana play, they've lost a game to Navy at home. They gave up over 400 yards rushing in that game. Their defense, not very good, but this is an offense that could play with anybody.
This has to be for Indiana. They have to get the ball last and have a chance to win. If they're down 2-3 scores, it's just going to keep getting worse because their defense is dreadful. Nate Sudfeld, great quarterback, has over 900 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions. 4 receivers with over 145 yards receiving. They're just stocked. They've got a running back who's averaging 8.1 yards a carry. This is just high-powered, high-octane offense, and they are going to keep it on you as full throttle as they can.
Well, we're going to see how things shake out. We're going to go ahead and bring on our first guest when we come back from break. David Woods from the Indianapolis Star talking about this Mizzou and Indiana game on Saturday night. We are joined by David Woods, who is covering all things Indiana Hoosiers football related for the Indianapolis Star. David, welcome to the show. Big game coming up this Saturday here in Bloomington as Missouri pays visit to Indiana. A lot of offensive firepower in this game. What is your perception coming in as Indiana obviously has a high-powered, very potent offense? How do you see this thing playing out?
Well, they have at least at times shown that they have the ability to mix in some runs in addition to the fairly spectacular passing of sophomore quarterback Nate Sudfeld. Even though Indiana continues to resist the idea to say that they're playing multiple quarterbacks, they've essentially played Sudfeld almost all the way in all 3 games. He only started the game against Bowling Green. He is a sophomore, very, very gifted guy, 6'5". He certainly kind of fits the prototype of an NFL quarterback. And plus, I think you'd really be hard-pressed to find a quartet of receivers to match Indiana's Shane Wynn, Kofi Hughes, Cody Latimer, and tight end Ted Bolzer. That's a terrific group. The question always with Indiana is can they keep the other team out of the end zone as well? Now, they did against Bowling Green, actually, kept Bowling Green's offense from scoring something that Indiana hadn't done over a period of 61 games. But Missouri has such a potent offense too that this has all the makings of a shootout. And if Indiana's offense does sputter, they're in huge trouble because their defense is just too suspect and too inexperienced to expect that the defense to win the day for them. But the defense just isn't good enough to do that yet.
How does this Indiana defense plan on slowing down Missouri? Maybe bend but not break at the best.
Well, I think you stated it well there. I mean, I think that's about their only hope. I mean, Missouri is going to gain a lot of yards, so it's probably going to come down to how Indiana's defense performs in the red zone. Now, their 2 cornerbacks, Michael Hunter and Tim Bennett, have actually performed really well. They isolated them all so they could, in order to kind of stop Bowling Green's run, they left their cornerbacks in a lot of man coverage and managed to get by with it. Now, Missouri probably have more speed and more talent. We'll see if they're able to get by with it against them. And of course, anytime you're going against a guy like Franklin, it's just brutal because if it's say in like the 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 type of deal, you think it's a passing down, but if protection breaks down, he's such a good runner that he can pick up the first down. So Indiana is sure to give up plenty of yards against Missouri. It'll just be how they perform in the red zone, that they can hold them to field goal attempts instead of touchdowns.
You mentioned Indiana's high-powered offense. Do you think they can keep that going against the SEC and the Missouri Tigers?
I do. I really think. And the one thing that could possibly inhibit them is they have had 2 dinged up offensive linemen. So they played against Bowling Green. 3 guys who started, were not on the first team depth chart when the preseason practice began. They have a pretty good offensive line. They really haven't given up very many sacks. So for that reason, it's a possibility that we could see more of Trey Roberson and less of Nate Sudfeld than we have in other games because Roberson will probably be better at avoiding the rush. We'll see how it goes. Sudfeld's been pretty nimble in the pocket. He's been able to slide out of trouble and keep plays alive and incomplete long plays. Because if you can keep a play alive
I want to ask you about the perception of this Missouri Tigers program from over there in Indiana. Of course, this is Missouri's second year in the SEC. Struggled out of the gate a year ago, dealt with a lot of injuries, and just the growing pains of joining the new conference. What is the perception of the Tigers program and Coach Gary Pinkel?
Oh, I'm not sure that there is so much of this perception. I think probably in this part of the world it's still even kind of hard to process Missouri as an SEC team that belonged to Big 12 for so long. This is the only regular season matchup between Big 10 and SEC teams, which is kind of interesting. But I'm not sure either team is necessarily representative of its conference. This is some people in Indiana think this is an enormous game. That this would be like a huge statement by Indiana football if they were able to beat a program like Missouri. I'm not sure it's quite has quite that kind of enormity because even if Indiana lost this game, I think they would still have a chance to finish 6-6 and go to a bowl game. But on the other hand, if they do win this game, this would have generated an enormous momentum for Indiana because they would have 2 weeks to prepare for Penn State, and Penn State's not obviously quite what it was. And so if they could win the next 2 games, they would be 4-1 heading up to Michigan State, which is certainly a good team, but a beatable one. So you could make the case that this is a very pivotal game for Indiana, but I don't think it's make or break by any means. But it would just be a sort of a signature win for Kevin Wilson's program if they were able to beat Missouri.
Nate Sudfeld has put up fantastic numbers this season. Are we really sure that's him under that helmet, or did you guys sneak former Indiana alum Trent Green under there?
I'm trying. Sometimes you get too close to a program you're covering, and it's easy to exaggerate how good guys are. But I just haven't seen anything to make me think Sudfeld isn't as Bowling Green coach Dave Clawson described him. He said, "quote He's a stud." Quote, I don't think we're ready to call him Nate Studfeld yet, but he's everything I think you would want in a conventional quarterback. Now he's not the runner that Franklin is, or that Kaepernick or Michael Vick or all the Manziel. Think of all the running, passing quarterbacks you can think of, but just to sit back there and throw it, he can do that, and he's certainly benefits from having such a good collection of receivers to throw to. They've got and their team who's, gosh, he may be like the number 4 or 5 or number 6 wideout on the team, a kid named Nick Stoner, and he's a former Indiana champion, and he's just a guy on their wide receiving core. So they're really benefiting from having that much depth at wide receiver, and they've got a guy in Sudfeld who's really been delivering the ball.
Well, I got to ask you, what have the crowds at the first couple of Indiana home games been like so far for the Hoosiers, and what is the crowd and atmosphere expected to be like this Saturday night there in Bloomington?
I don't think it'll be different, candidly. It's been kind of like in the low 40s. I don't know if the fact that it's an 8 o'clock game and it's a higher profile opponent on Saturday night will make a difference or not. But the crowds have only been like in the low 40s, and Kevin Wilson has even kind of been pleading that the crowds be bigger and more people show up for the games. I guess hoping a loud stadium like that would benefit the Hoosiers. But I'm not sure. I'd be very surprised if the crowd comes up even as high as 50,000. But if it's nice weather, it's certainly an attractive matchup. I mean, you look around. I'll repeat myself. It just has the specter of being a very, very entertaining college football game.
That's what we're expecting too, David. Great stuff. Really appreciate you joining us. We'll see what happens in this game Saturday night. We'll definitely check out the column after the game is over, and we really appreciate you coming on, David. And we'll definitely catch up down the road. Hopefully, as the Tigers and Hoosiers are both bound for a couple bowl games this year, my man.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me on, and it'll be interesting to see how. I think both teams probably could have pretty decent seasons after this one, but this one has all the makings of a shootout.
Yeah, absolutely does, David. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon, my man.
Thanks for having me on.
And a big thanks to David for joining us. Could not agree more. He seems to see a shootout in our future here tonight. I tend to agree. I think that this is going to be a shootout. Hopefully, in Missouri's case, they're able to force some turnovers, slow down this offense, and because Missouri's defense is, on paper and right now, better than the Indiana defense. That's going to favor the Tigers a little bit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Nate Sudfeld, it's going to be hard to stop him and those four receivers, but it was interesting how David Woods thinks that Nate Sudfeld could be the best quarterback in Indiana history besides Trent Green.
Well, and Trent Green, the thing about that is Trent, of course, great player in the NFL for so many years. He was a guy that was a much better pro player than he was a college player. Back in the day, they ran the ball a lot. Didn't have a chance to really showcase that arm a lot there. Interesting to bring up Trent, though, to David Woods. He definitely seemed to appreciate the reference. So gonna see how this game plays out. And big thanks again to David for joining us. Great stuff. And now a guest that everyone's going to know in this area, Kearney native, a legendary high school athlete from Kearney High School, legendary Mizzou receiver, Tommy Saunders, getting ready to join us right here on The Hog. And we are continuing to preview Mizzou at Indiana this Saturday with a very special guest, former Mizzou wide receiver Tommy Saunders. Tommy, big game coming up this Saturday for the Tigers. How's everything going in your world, and how do you see this game playing out, my man?
Everything's going good. I've been watching the Tigers, and they look really good. Just as a former player, I don't ever really care who they're playing. I really focus on us and what we're doing, and just it all comes down to the offense and the defense executing. And you're out there playing for yourself. Making the right reads, going to the scheme that you're supposed to do. And so, whenever I'm looking at these games, I'm always just looking at Mizzou, and they're gonna come out focused.
Now, I know you've spent a lot of time around the team in the last couple seasons. You're a former receiver with this team and one of the greatest receiving corps of all time. Is this receiving corps with Dorial Green Beckham and Bud Sasser and Jimmy Hunt and Damian Washington, Bud Sasser, is this the best receiving corps Missouri's had since the era of you and Jeremy Macklin and Will Franklin, all the above?
Oh yeah, this receiving corps is so athletic, it's scary. From all those players that you just named, from their speed to their athletic ability to adjust to the ball in the air. But it all comes down to if you can make the plays when the time calls. When it's third down and three and you got press coverage, can you get off that corner that knows you're running a slant? So all those stuff, what's going to make them successful is those intangibles, and if they're going to make the tough play at the fourth quarter and third down or the fourth down. So that's kind of what I look at as I'm watching these guys.
How big of a lift has Henry Josie been coming back from the serious knee injury and coming with his stellar performance?
Henry Josie is a freak. I saw him in the offseason working hard, and he didn't rush to get back. He really did it the smart way and took his time and didn't push himself. Got back in the weight room and got strong, and it's all paying off. These kids work out 365 days to play 12 to 14 games. So, for him to come back like he did and to give everything he has, these first couple games is huge, and I'm really looking forward to him having a great year this year.
How do you think the Mizzou defense is going to go about stopping the Indiana offense? They have Indiana has quarterback Nate Sudfeld, who's got over 900 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, and he's got 4 wide receivers with 145-plus yards receiving. So how do you think the defense goes about slowing them down?
I think after last game, I saw Andrew Wilson, get ejected from the game. I think that's, terrible for these kids, especially a play like that. For him having to sit out, I think he's going to sit out the first half of this game. I think that's terrible. He's the leader of their defense. Defense always comes down to, doing what you're supposed to do, making the right reads, and trusting your guys that they're going to make the play. If you're running cover 2, you do your responsibility and trust that safety is going to be in a position to make the play. So especially with playing guys like this, it's all about, trusting your preparation and trusting your teammates that they're going to make the right play so you're not out of position when that time comes.
I don't know if it's just us, but James Franklin looks like a different quarterback through 2 games of this season. Maybe going to what happened last year. Obviously, he was hurt. He missed 3 games. He was, missed time and a couple others. How would you describe, James Franklin and how he's gotten better from 2012 to 2013?
James looks really comfortable in there. It's all about taking what the defense gives you, making the right reads. And whenever you sit out like that, you're not getting to practice. You're not getting a feel for those receivers. And if they're going to how they sit down in cover 2, or if they're going to cross their face and trusting those guys. Whenever you're not playing with them, every day in and day out, all summer, through 2 days, and you miss a couple games, it just kind of throws your timing off. So the quarterback's holding the ball a little bit longer, and he's waiting for him to get open. making the right reads and not trying to force anything in there. So, I mean, that's huge exposure for this offense to make the defense, play as true.
Do you see Mizzou being able to take control of this game, or do you think last team who has the ball wins?
I always think that Mizzou can take control of games. I have confidence in their offense and their defense. And like I said, it all comes down to the players that they're going to do the right things. You get one receiver that doesn't run the right route, leads into an interception, or little things like that. It all comes down to everybody doing their job. And if everybody can do that play after play, we'll definitely be in control of the game.
Well, Tommy, going back to your time at Mizzou, seeing the Tigers now in the SEC, of course you played in the Big 12. Do you ever look back out and think, man, I wish I would have had a chance to play just one season in the SEC? And how much different is it playing in a league like the SEC now for the Missouri Tigers?
I had a different mindset whenever I played. I didn't ever worry about who we were playing, or we're playing Oklahoma or Texas or anybody. All I knew is if I could beat the man across me, we would win the game, because that's the only thing I could control. I'd help motivate the guys as best I could. But whenever I'm on the field, the only thing I can control is beating that guy across me, whether it's blocking, running routes. And so that's how I look at it. And of course, you'd like to play in some of those stadiums against some of the best guys in the nation. But I think that like I said, it all comes down to one person at a time doing their job and collectively, going out there and beating people.
Which you guys did a lot of. I mean, Tommy, talk about your career, because you came to Mizzou as a walk-on in 2004. By the time you left Mizzou, you had a 72-catch, 800-yard season your senior year. Talk about the hard work and dedication it took for you to turn from a walk-on to not only a player with a scholarship here at the University of Missouri, but a guy who contributed on an offense that it will always be legendary here at the University of Missouri.
Yeah, kind of my mindset was get better every day. I didn't ever want to go through a day, off-season, during the season, of not getting better. And so I knew all those days would add up. And so I just want to outwork everybody, and push myself, to my limit, to my max, and until I couldn't go anymore. And so that's kind of what my mindset was. I didn't really focus on anybody else of I had to be better than this person. I knew that if I could get myself to the best I could possibly be, then I would just naturally beat everybody out. And so that's kind of what I did. I just focused on myself as far as working out and the things I had to do, and just did my job. And that's kind of what led me from football and got me to be a starter and be successful in my Mizzou career.
And obviously that mindset is is still with you, Tommy, as you go into your professional career. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to now. If Tiger fans don't know, you have created the Rock 360, which is an abdominal product that is just sweeping the nation. Tell us how you got started with that, and how you got started in fitness in general, and about the product, the Rock 360, and how people can get a hold of you to get it.
After Mizzou, I was Detroit Lions. Was with them through the off season. I got cut. I went and played for the USA national rugby team. We went to Hong Kong, Australia. Did that. When I got back from that, I didn't kind of know what I wanted to do. I played a little bit of arena football, and it was kind of in the crossroads. I didn't know if I wanted to coach or what I wanted to do. So I went to Wyoming, where Coach Richardson was up there, and did an internship to try to see if I wanted to really coach. And when I was up there, came up with this idea for this, an ab wheel with a ball on the bottom. You can go in any direction. And so as soon as I got back from that internship, it was only a week long. I started, Google search, patent search, and 3 years later, we have a product that raised a bunch of money, and now we're, on the national campaign. We're on Amazon.com, Brookstone.com. You can get it or check it out at GetRock360.com. And our company's name is Shoot 'em. This stands for Forgive Everybody Who Doubts Me, and that's kind of the mindset that I had when I was going through Mizzou. I felt like not having a scholarship, and I was all state and had all these records that a lot of people doubted me. And so I just took that mindset. I wrote it on my gloves, on my shoes, on the footballs that I had, and just FEWDM, and just forgive everybody who doubts me and want to outwork everybody and prove all the doubters wrong. And that's kind of the same mindset that I'm taking in my company with the Rock 360 is, proving that this is a different product. This isn't the shake weight. This isn't the perfect push-up. This is a functional product that really helps you reach your fitness goals.
Now, me personally, trying to get the six-pack back after several years of, eating unhealthy and all that. tell us how it works. This isn't something like where you go to a gym and you've got the crunch machine. It's not that. How does it actually work? Functionally.
It's like the ab wheel, but you can roll in any direction. You can move in 360 degrees. So it takes stress off your back and stress off your shoulder. So imagine if you're doing the ab wheel, but you can write your name in cursive. Or you can do figure eights and circles and letters. And we have an app that attaches right to the top of it. So it'll give you a different design. It'll give you a square or a triangle. And you'll do it, and it'll count, the time will count down. And it's like a personal trainer right there at your fingertips. And so, but you can also do all kinds of different stuff like push-ups and planks and use it as a med ball.
Excellent. Well, we'll definitely. That's awesome, man. I'll tell you what. Tell us too how Tony Temple, your former teammate at Mizzou, has been involved with you doing some of this stuff. I know he's been in fitness as well. Talk to us about Tony Temple and how you guys came together and became to work together.
Whenever I was come creating this Rock 360, my company name was FEWDM, and I had some bracelets, and I was going to hand to people as they tried the Rock 360. I was getting their testimonials. And Tony was like, hey, let me sell those bracelets. A lot of people will like FPWDM. And I was like, nobody even knows what it means. And he's like, just let me just sell these. And so, we had 300 bracelets, and he came back 3 days later, and he sold them all.
Wow.
So that's kind of how it started out. He took the FPWDM brand. We got some T-shirts made. He just kind of promoted it online, and a lot of people bought into the product, and he kind of grew and brought the FPWDM brand to the masses.
Well, we really appreciate it. You guys are great. We'll definitely check out the Rock 360. Only being half serious about trying to get the six-pack back because that ship may have sailed for me, Tommy. I'll tell you what. But we'll definitely check out the product. Great stuff. Check it out online. Get rock360.com. Cannot thank you enough for your insight. Big game coming up, Mizzou at Indiana. Thank you for your years of playing at Mizzou. Thanks for your insight. Tommy, can't thank you enough, man. We'll definitely be in touch as the season goes on. We really appreciate it, man.
Hey, thank you very much.
We'll be in touch. Thanks a lot, Tommy.
All right, see you.
Huge thanks for Tommy Saunders for joining us right here on The Hog. Great to have him on. Great to hear his perspective on this game. He seems to like Missouri a little bit here. Definitely go check out get360.com. If you want to rip those abs up like Noah, you and I need to start doing, going to definitely have to check that product out.
Oh, yeah. Speak for yourself. I've already got the nice six-pack abs here.
Oh, I forgot. Well, okay. As we wrap up college football for this week, another big game, area football game, Kansas State, going down to Texas now. Kansas State has owned this series dating back to 2003. I think they've won 5 straight against the Longhorns. Matt Brown just cannot seem to outclass Bill Snyder.
Bill Snyder, the mad genius. It's going to be tough to outdo him, and with Mac on the hot seat, maybe the players are tuning him out and just waiting for the new coach to arrive. I
think Kansas State wins this game. Texas is definitely on the downswing. The talent that they're amassing down there, not really getting up to play for this coach. I just think that the Kansas State, like Bill Snyder, sitting right now in a lab concocting ways to win this game, so they will do it.
What do you think about another SEC matchup, LSU and Auburn?
Auburn's improved. Under Gus Malzahn. They're an improved football team. You saw them beat Mississippi State, a week ago. I like what they're doing. I don't think they're there yet. LSU is going to win this game. I think LSU is an unsung team this year. Not everyone talking about Alabama, A&M, Georgia. LSU with Zach Mettenberger, a guy they actually throw the ball, looks like a good football team. Maybe a transitional year for them. A lot of lost on defense, but I still think LSU is going to be right there in the mix in the SEC West. Yeah,
I love the promo that they have for the game with Les Miles, his voiceover saying, "This is where teams' dreams come to die."
That's exactly right. That just gave me chills because Les Miles is an intense person. He's a riverboat gambler and all of that. He's a guy that he's gonna take chances, and a lot of times they're gonna pay off for LSU. So a lot remains to be seen as we go into Week 4 here in college football. We'll see how things play out. And your Kansas City Chiefs get to 3-0 with a big win on Thursday Night Football on NFL Network. They do it with defense. They do it with turnovers. It's maybe smoke and mirrors at this point, but the Chiefs are 3-0 for only the second time in 10 years. That's what's important right now, Noah.
Yeah, I thought maybe they'd be 7-9, even struggle to getting to 7 wins, but it looks like they have a really legitimate shot at getting in this playoff race.
Andy Reid returns back to Philadelphia, gets the win. How much of a difference has he made for this football team?
Oh, it's night and day. I mean, last year we pretty much had no coach. Romeo Crennel just patrolling the sidelines, more of a bumbling fool out there than a head coach, and now we have a real legitimate proven NFL head coach, and you're seeing what it's paying off right now.
Yeah, it really is. And you saw the 5 turnovers. The Chiefs were +5, still had to hold on to win the football game. Had some, honestly right now the offense is not in gear. It's not in rhythm. Alex Smith is not quite able to make some of the throws you'd like to see him make out there, but he's getting the ball out in space to guys like Donnie Avery, who are an unsung hero in this game, who had over 100 yards receiving and really picked up huge third downs and long when it looked like the Chiefs had no chance of picking it up. Jamal Charles was able to salt the game away late with some big runs. But right now, if you're talking about concerns, the offense is a concern in general, but the offensive line so far has been dreadful.
That it has. You have some young guys on the inside with Jeff Allen, Rodney Hudson, and John Asamoah. They're still developing. They're not quite to the level of a Brendan Albert. Brendan did have his struggles. Alex was holding onto the ball, trying to find which check down he wanted. You also have Eric Fisher, who is also struggling out there. But all the top offensive linemen from last year's draft are struggling. Lane Johnson, you saw him on the other side with the Eagles struggle against Justin Houston. Like I said, Fisher had his problems, and Luke Jokel's struggling in Jacksonville as well.
Is this what you attribute the what's going on with the running game? Because they're not able to get Jamal Charles going. Nile Davis is not really playing a big role right now as that second running back. Is it offensive line, or is Jamal having trouble as he's still banged up, do you think, from that thigh injury?
I think it's more of the offensive line and just the offense as a whole. Alex Smith, the defense is compact and coming down closer to the line of scrimmage because Alex Smith only throws about 5 yards at a time. So they're watching the checkdowns, the intermediate routes, and since they're closer to the line of scrimmage watching the checkdowns, they're closer to the line of scrimmage so they can play the run as well. So if they see Alex Smith handing the ball off, they can crash down on Jamal or watch the drag, slants, routes like that.
Yeah, and I think you're seeing right now Alex Smith is he still hasn't thrown an interception, but he still hasn't won you a football game either with a big throw or that's at some point that's going to have to happen for this team to have a chance at a 10-win season, maybe even 11, something like that. Alex Smith, there's going to have to be big plays made in the passing game. Right now, we're just not seeing it. And is that a result of Alex Smith, the offensive line, the weapons that he has to work with, or a combination of all?
I think it just boils down to Alex Smith. Yes, the offensive line isn't playing well. Yes, we don't have a great wide receiver talent outside of Dwayne Bowe, who he doesn't throw to anyway. But Alex Smith is just a dink and dunk quarterback. They said it before the game on NFL Network. That's just the quarterback he is. He's going to play it safe. Conservative is another word they used. And but you saw Michael Vick on the other side. Yes, he had his mistakes, but his touchdown pass to Jason Avant, their first touchdown, took it right in the chops from Derek Johnson, laid it perfectly, beautifully out there to Jason Avant in the front corner of the end zone.
Yeah, and I think that Vic brings an element to that offense. You see that what Chip Kelly's doing. It's a high-risk, high-reward situation. And LaShawn McCoy looks like what Jamal Charles looked to me like 3 years ago. He's got that burst. He's got that ability to make people miss. Right now, Jamal Charles does not appear to have that, whether that be age, miles piling up, injury, offensive line, all those things we talked about. But for the Chiefs moving forward, they have an identity now. It's going to be defense. It's going to be winning the game, forcing turnovers, getting stops. That's going to have to be how this team wins right now because they just don't have the offensive firepower to do it. So I think this is a credit to Andy Reid, to Bob Sutton, to Doug Peterson. They have really put this team in a position to win games, whereas the previous regime, Scott Pioli, with Romeo Crennel involved, nobody was in any position to do anything positive, let alone to win a game.
Yeah, this coaching staff, like I said earlier, is just night and day. From Bob Sutton, I didn't know much about him coming in, but man, I'm sold on this guy. They go out and they get Sean Smith in free agency, better than advertised.
Yeah.
We have had trouble bringing in free agents, especially at the cornerback position. Last Dolphin we brought in from corner, Patrick Surtain, didn't have the best success here. Sean Smith is shutting down the other side, but let's not forget Jeremy Maclin. He got injured early in training camp. He was not in this game. You can see that offense is really missing him. If they re-sign him at the end of the year, this could be really dangerous for Chip Kelly and that Eagles offense.
I think you see it, and I think Chip Kelly is a guy that's going to try to reinvent the wheel because we saw the Eagles go for it go for 2 when they pulled to within 10-6. They went for 2, didn't get it, and that may reinvent the wheel here. I mean, you may see other coaches try that.
Yeah, I mean, he believes in his offense. He knows his defense struggled the past 2 weeks, giving up a lot of points. They've put up over 30. He wanted to go for 2. I said that back in 2003 when the Chiefs had the best offense. I was like, our defense is so horrible. Let's just go for 2 every time. And that way we'll have the advantage. It didn't work out for them, but they used college swinging gate formation there. It was pretty tricky. I thought it looked pretty tricky, but the Chiefs snuffed it out and stopped them.
Yeah, and I think that right now, moving forward, the Kansas City Chiefs, they have winnable games ahead of them on the schedule. You're talking about bringing in the Giants next Sunday. The Chiefs, of course, aren't going to be playing tomorrow as they played the Thursday night game, but next Sunday, the Giants come a-calling. Never a team you can count out, but not necessarily a team that looks very good right now, coming off 2 losses to start the season. We'll see how they fare against the Carolina Panthers tomorrow. You almost want the Giants to win that game because you get I've never seen a team that can overcome adversity like the New York Giants. Their backs are in the wall. Tom Coughlin's about to get fired. Eli's going to get benched, and they win 8 straight and win a Super Bowl. That's just what they do. You don't want to paint them into a corner, by gosh.
That's for sure. And Eli Manning has the most interceptions, 7 in the league right now, but you just don't want to go up against that guy. If it's a close game in the fourth quarter, you know Eli Manning's going to show up. So we need to put him out of his misery early, get the turnovers like we did tonight, and it'll be great.
We'll see where things shake out on that. Chiefs and Giants coming up next Sunday. Big win for the Chiefs on Thursday night. We'll see where things go. The Chiefs are going to go at Tennessee after that Giants game. It's wide open. A lot of wins out there on the schedule before they start playing Denver and teams like that's
Houston.
There's a lot of winnable games on the schedule before you get into the meat of it, which is kind of in the middle. So we'll see where things go, and we will be definitely talking about the rest of the NFL as well. From the Kansas City Chiefs, the rest of the National Football League, what are you seeing so far? Because to me, this has just been an unpredictable, crazy start to the season through 2 weeks.
Yeah, the New England Patriots, they're still atop the AFC East, but man, are they struggling. Tom Brady had one of his worst passing outings against the New York Jets and just this entire season, losing Danny Amendola. Rob Gronkowski still injured. Shane Vereen, their versatile running back, is out.
Aaron Hernandez killed someone.
Maybe 3 people.
We're still, the body count is still mounting, unfortunately, for that case. But yeah, you're right. The Patriots lost a ton of weapons. To me, with Tom Brady at quarterback, that's still going to give you a chance to win. I still think they're going to win that division. But right now, he is disgruntled. You saw him, back last Thursday night, a couple Thursdays ago against the Jets. Absolutely, that receiving core was lost, and he could not seem to get them on the straight and narrow as much as he scowled and looked at them.
Yeah, he was over on the sidelines screaming, yelling, throwing fits because his wide receivers were not on the same page as Tom Brady. Another division that's surprising me in the NFL is the NFC East. What is going on there? It seems like they just don't want to win. They can't win. Robert Griffin III is struggling with the rust from coming off the knee injury.
He's a different player right now. They're making him they're having to make him into a stand-up pocket passer. He's not able to get out and make plays with his legs right now, and he's not planting on his correct foot. He's throwing off his back foot too much. It's not looking good right now for the Washington Redskins, like you said. This is a disaster waiting to happen, I think, with the unhealthy RG3.
Yeah, and the New York Giants, Eli Manning leads the league in interceptions with 7. You've got Tony Romo and the Cowboys still refusing to run the ball. After all these years, everyone's saying they need to be more balanced. They still refuse to run the ball. And the Philadelphia Eagles, Chip Kelly's offense is live or die by the pass.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It's always the black and blue division of the NFL, always featured on Sunday and Monday Night Football. This year, maybe down a little bit. I still think the Dallas Cowboys can win that division. That's a very talented team. I think if they get their offense, back in rhythm, they were not able to against the Kansas City Chiefs, a week ago. But we'll see how that division plays out. I'll tell you what, another team that's surprised me so far, the Atlanta Falcons. Okay, they're 1-1. They have not looked championship quality to me like everybody had picked them prior to the season.
Yeah, now Steven Jackson could be out 2 to 4 weeks with thigh contusion. So they go to Jaquiz Rogers, who has struggled when he's been given the opportunity. Jason Snelling's just kind of a complimentary back. He's not ready to carry the load either. So the Falcons could struggle, but maybe get their groove back come playoff time.
What about the Chiefs division, the AFC West? We've seen the Denver Broncos absolutely, through 2 games, look unbeatable, unstoppable. Peyton Manning looks every bit as good as he did in his prime in Indianapolis. He's still in his prime. He is the man.
Peyton Manning is the man. 7 touchdowns week 1 against the Ravens. But they lose Ryan Clady, their big left tackle, maybe one of the best left tackles in the league, maybe behind Joe Thomas in Cleveland. Ryan Clady goes down with a Liz Frank injury, and his season is officially over. That is a big hit for the Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning as Ryan Clady was protecting his blind side.
I think Denver wins this division, and I don't think it's close, regardless of that injury to Clady. But this division maybe not as bad as a lot of the pundits made it out to be before the season.
Yeah, Phillip Rivers looks like he's found his game again. Yes, they had the mistakes against Houston. They'll probably still have some along the way. But people were saying that them and Oakland were going to challenge for last place. I look for the San Diego Chargers to challenge the Kansas City Chiefs for second place in this division as they beat the Eagles last week. The Chargers did on a last-second field goal.
You got the Oakland Raiders 1-1, a team that hasn't looked as bad as people thought. A lot of people picking the Raiders to be one of the worst teams in the league. They still very well may be, but Terrell Pryor, I think, gives them a chance because he can make plays with his legs. He's a big guy. He's not the best thrower, but you know what? He's going to be able to keep them in games, I think.
Yeah, and they played Jacksonville last week. They won the game 19-9. That was a good game to kind of get Terrell Pryor's feet a little wet while knowing they would easily win the game.
Now, you know, a blockbuster trade pulled up this week, of course. The Browns letting go of running back Trent Richardson, who was the 4th overall pick only a couple seasons ago. He goes to the Colts, who are in desperate need of a running game for a 1st overall pick that goes to the Cleveland Browns. Now the Colts have Trent Richardson. Vic Ballard, their former starting running back, out for the year. How far can these Colts, second year of Andrew Luck, with now Trent Richardson helping out in the running game, how far can this team progress from year 1 to year 2 under Andrew Luck?
Yeah, Cleveland drafted Trent Richardson to be their franchise back, but he was only getting 3.5 yards a carry. Now, some people may say that's because it is the Cleveland Browns, and they didn't have a passing game with Braden Weeden, and they've been very disappointed with the Browns receivers, Greg Little, and Josh Gordon has been suspended out for the first 2 games. This Indianapolis Colts team, they've got Ahmad Bradshaw there, so it could be a nice little 1-2 punch there for the Colts with Ahmad Bradshaw, Trent Richardson, and they definitely have the passing game with Andrew Luck and T.Y. Hilton and Reggie Wayne.
All right, team that's most impressed you so far and team that has most disappointed you so far.
I'm going to go disappointed first, and I'm going to have to say the Carolina Panthers. They just look awful. Cam Newton cannot get on track. He's getting sacked a lot. They have Steve Smith, but really no other options on offense. Their defense is really hurting in the secondary. They do have Luke Kuechly. That seems to be their one bright spot. Still can't get a running game from D'Angelo Williams. And my biggest surprise, I'm going to have to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid has come in and completely changed the mindset of this team. They expect to win. They expect to come out and perform well. And this defense is way better than I gave them credit for before the season. They are coming out really strong.
Thank you guys enough for joining us here on the Outsiders Sports Show today. Starting your morning off right with a little bit of sports right here on the Outsiders.
That's right, and we got to thank each and every one of our guests, each of you for listening. It's been an amazing show, and we just cannot look forward to next Saturday.
Absolutely, going to be bringing on more guests, more great stuff coming on every single week here on The Hog, and we look forward to doing it. We look forward to engaging with you fans and interacting with you guys, so be sure to check out our Facebook page on facebook.com/The Outsiders Podcast. Love to hear from you guys, hear feedback. Who do you want to hear on the show? What kind of guests do you want? What do you want us to talk about? Did we miss a team? Are you an Iowa fan? Are you a Kansas fan? Kansas State? You want to hear more about your team? Let us know, and we'll bring that to you guys every single week. For Clint, Switzer, and Noah Groniger signing off here, the Outsiders Sports Show here on The Hog. Cannot thank you guys enough. Have a good sports weekend, and as always, check us out on the net.